live? Let me go check on what YouTube thinks. YouTube thinks that I am live. I think. Oh, no. Hold on. There. Do I need that? There we go. Now you should have images and everything. So. Okay. Let me know if you can see and or hear me. Takes a minute for the lag. I have to see the lag right there. All right. Hey, Joe the Builder. Thank you for saying hello. Everything sounds good. All right. Thank you, Danny. All right. It is like 2 days before I head up for 3D Printopia, which is kind of freaking me out right now. I'm not going to lie. I do not feel prepared. So 3D Printopia, so actually Ian flies in tomorrow. And tomorrow night, Ian Smalley will be coming to 3D Printopia, so he's flying in tomorrow night. And then after that, Danny and AJ will be flying in the morning, the next day, well, or basically right before noon the next day. And then we'll be heading up to, on Thursday evening, afternoon or evening, up to 3D Printopia. So it's exciting. There's a lot going on. And then we'll be up there all weekend. So we'll be up there Thursday. We won't be doing anything. We'll just go get dinner and get our Airbnb. And then, I printed a big HueForge today. This is one I've already had before, but I gave it to somebody. I think I gave it to Dan at West 3D. So I needed to print another one. And then this one is a nice pop culture one. So you can ask your kids if you don't know what this is. Printed that today as well. And then of course I've been printing FlatForge and demos. Actually, let me go grab that real quickly. Hold on. Just a second, I'll be right back. So I know that when I went on Z and Z, I talked about, if you haven't seen it, I did Z and Z show on Twitch. They released that hour to YouTube as well afterwards. When I did Z and Z, I talked about. Can't really bump this mic up. It's pretty high. You might need to bump your mic up. Let me see here. Yeah, it's all the way up. Mic's all the way up. It's up in the software too, and it's hitting red. So, let's see here. Can I bump it? Yeah, it's actually already set to do 120% of volume. I can go up to 130. There you go. Okay. So I'll just try to speak a little louder. So on Z and Z, I had the realization that I could do, FlatForge, which is what's coming out in like next day or two, has to, because I'm releasing it by 3D Printopia. FlatForge lets you print things flat, but it makes it take a lot longer to print, a lot, because you have all the layers stacked on top. There's multiple colors in the layers. I'll show you what it looks like today. And so you get a lot more print time. And then I realized, well, what if we just, and people have mentioned this before, and I've never thought it would work that well, but after printing for a while, I realized it might work. What if we instead did, filled the models with, looks like my Stream Deck died. What if we filled the negative space of the model with transparent? And because at HueForge layer heights, we're finding that transparents are actually working really well. We get much more TD out of them than you'd expect. So the question was, how well can we do that? And my first test came out really well. I don't even remember what my first test was. I don't think I have it sitting here. Do I have it sitting here? No, I do not have my first test sitting here. My first test came out well, but later tests didn't come out as well. So let me show you. So I did my spaceman, the spaceman. This is a spaceman. It actually looks better here on camera than it does in person. See how the grayscale section's super faded? It shouldn't be that faded. So this is with, and you can see the holographic effect on there. This is with FlashForge's high-speed natural filament, PLA. And then this one is Polymaker Natural. It's a slightly different model. It's very close, and it's much darker. The Polymaker Natural lets you see more through it. I will say that I made this one a little bit thinner to make the color show up better, and then there's still a holographic effect, and it's not really coming up on the camera for this one, but there is one on this one, and then this is Sunlu transparent. So Sunlu transparent PLA, which is not transparent like transparent PETG. Transparent PETG is glass. It looks like glass when you look at it. But this is, you can see, if you hold them up next to each other, you can see that this one is a little more faded than this one. Nowhere near as bad as this one, but it will matter how deep they are, how thick they are. So basically it's going to matter how thick. Oh, I did a grayscale, the apple, that I posted everywhere. It was a grayscale apple, but since there was no other context around it, you couldn't tell if it was light or dark, and it worked out. But so what I'm finding though is that this Sunlu transparent is definitely more transparent, but I'm having some issues. It doesn't seem to take the surface pattern as much. You can't really see it here, but on this one I can see the sparkle from the bed, and on this one I can see the sparkle from the bed. On this one I can't really see the sparkle from the bed, but it's way more transparent. And I have done another print that didn't come out exactly like I wanted, but this one, and I used one of those beds that has the little like kind of chunks on it, and that really took well. The other thing I'm finding though is that at 45 degrees you end up getting a grid. You can see like there's a screen door effect in the model. I don't think I'm going to be able to show that to you, but there's a screen door. You can sort of see it there. Yeah, you can see it up there. There's a screen door effect up there, and that's not great. So what I did here is I put it at, well, I did the base layer at concentric, though I don't think I'd do that again. It had problems printing at concentric, but I did that at concentric, and then I did the other layers at 30 degrees instead of 45 degrees, and that seems to have gotten rid of it. I also upped the flow rate a little bit. There's still some in there, but it's not as obvious because they're not boxes. They're kind of, at an angle. So I'm using just Jupine build plates for the bamboo sparkly. There's a whole host of them. This one is one side sparkly, one side, textured gold PEI. I haven't done a textured plate face down yet. I've done just smooth, and I've done a couple of different. This is one where the whole pattern, the whole plate is kind of got this streaky pattern, which I like. So these are all flat forge. Yes, these are all. Well, no, these aren't actually. These are not flat forges. These are flat fill. So these are flat fill. If they were flat forge, they wouldn't be foggy like this, because flat forge brings the surfaces, brings all the stuff up the top. So if I flat forge something here, these are flat forged. There you have your full contrast because the black's at the top and the white's at the top. Everything's at the top. Here we've got like one layer over of transparent, and then it fills in all the gaps, so it doesn't move any of the layers around. Flat forge moves the layers around so that they're all flat, and there's no but there's one layer transparent on here just for printability, but it's not there. It doesn't really matter which transparent you have for these. These are just flat, but this one I have moved all the layers up. So it's a trade-off. If you want the best results, you're pretty much, well, unless you specifically want to have like a visible depth like effect. If you want the best results, you probably want FlatForge. But if you want pretty good results and you have a good transparent and you don't want to spend as long, then the flat fill is going to be better. So something like a coaster where you really just want it across the top and then it's just indented a little bit and you can keep it thin. Anything you can keep that gap to like a millimeter and a quarter. Flat fill is going to be a lot faster. So I did some numbers on this, and the original Spaceman model was like 2.5 hours at 0.8 layer height, 0.08 layer height. That should be available this week. Yes. So the original Spaceman was about 2.5 hours at 0.08 layer heights. If I just made it solid with no filament changes, so 0.08, no filament changes, just one filament all the way up 0.08 layers, it takes about 4 hours. If you then do flat fill, so that's because you're always going to print this whole volume. It becomes a solid volume instead of being, you know, like the little thin parts are smaller. It's a solid volume. So that test is just showing that just printing, doesn't matter that you're doing any multiple swaps per layer or anything, it's just printing that whole volume is going to make it take longer. That's about 4 hours. To do the flat fill took about 5 to 5.5 hours, and then to do the flat forge was like 10 hours. And then the waste kind of doubled. It was like 1 gram, 3 gram, 1 gram, 7 grams, 15 grams of waste. So there's certainly times when flat forge, you know, they're going to be more wasteful. They're going to take more time. The benefit of flat fill is it is no more than 2 swaps per layer. There's never more than 2 swaps per layer in flat fill, whereas in flat forge, if you have 8 colors, you could have 8 swaps per layer. So yes, so I am starting. So okay, it will be ready for Windows and Mac. It will not be ready for Linux. Something had to give to get it out and get prepped for 3D Printopia, so Linux is what had to give. I will release it for Linux. I just don't have time to get it released for Linux. You found out why you can't do intersections with FlatForge. Because you have to do one for each model? Or... oh, you have to have a watertight model for intersections? Yeah, and some of the FlatForge models are not totally watertight. There shouldn't be that many gaps, but yes, there will be some non-watertightness. There will be some other issues here. I've tried pretty hard to make them watertight, but there's still some bugs and issues that need to be sorted out. This is version 1 of FlatForge, and FlatFill. They're all part of the same plugin, but there are some bugs with the mesh generation. It works pretty well, but yeah, like HueForge, they're going to get better as time goes on, and I'm better at understanding what they're doing and where the problems are. So plugin folders up here. There is now an install plugin option. You will, when you get a plugin, if you decide to get FlatForge, you'll download the zip file. You'll tell HueForge you want to install plugin, and you'll just point it at the zip file. You'll just say, I want the Mesh Tools plugin zip file, and you'll be good to go. So for the workaround, we'll just have to use... oh, okay. Oh, right. Yeah, actually, just a second. I gotta take down my HueForge for one moment. Hold on, where am I? Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. There. Alright. And then... hold on. Okay, that'll work for now. We'll relaunch HueForge. I have been trying to squash some bugs, squash some bugs, squash some crashes. I'm not showing HueForge yet. Still, it's not up yet. Just a sec. It's coming up. Alright. Alright, let me switch over to HueForge. I always forget. I set this all up so that it's all like switch back and forth, and then I forget to switch back and forth. Alright. There we go. That's what I want. All right. So you come up here to plugins. You say install plugins, and then there'll be a zip file. You just take the zip files directly from the website and say, I want to install that. Now, it won't install twice. If I try to do it, it'll say it's already installed and skip it. But it'll unzip it for you, put it in the right place, and install it, and add it to the menu here. So that's all you have to do, and then you've got it installed. It's super easy. It does go into different locations on Mac OS and Windows, but I did make them both accessible. Well, sort of. It does go into different places on both Mac OS and Windows, but it'll install them for you, so you don't have to worry about where they need to go. All right. This was just something I was working on for my daughter. Let's pull up that flat fill here. So again, flat fill. I'm reprinting this one because there were issues with the print. It curled, and I didn't like some of the settings I had. But if you come into plugins, mesh tools, this will be renamed to FlatForge or Flats or something like that. Flat tools. Flat fill is this one. Flat fill will make your meshes for you, and then you can see that you've got this cap, this transparent cap on top that fills in all the extra spaces. It's like a negative of the rest of this model, and the rest of the model is just the standard model. But again, yeah, because there are these tiny little pieces and stuff, and when you're splitting it up, sometimes it does have non-manifold edges, so we'll have to fix that in the first month or so of release. But there's your FlatForge. That's how it looks. You can change where the flat fill level is. You can make it taller. Here it shows live preview of where that layer was, and then it'll remake it. Uh-oh. Or it'll crash on me. That's interesting. Alright, well, we're going to have to come back to that. Don't get crashes like that often, but that's a good one to catch. Alright, HueForge is loading. Alright. So let's not do that for now. But if you come to flat fill, you will be able to adjust that. And in fact, you can adjust it below the top level. So if you want to fill in below, you can do that. And then you just set the name and save it, and it'll save it as individual model files. So if I go to that's not the right projects. If I go to, let's just go project, HueForge, and I come into Blue Gemstone, you'll see that it's got 5 files, one for each color, a project file, and then a described text. Now the described text is wrong right now. It's the standard HueForge described text. I'm hoping to have, that's one of the last things I need to do, is to have the option to change the described text to be more accurate for the mode that you saved it under. But it'll save them as individual files. You'll bring them into your slicer, so you'll come into your, I'm just going to bring up Bamboo Studio, which already has it all set up. I'm going to delete it, bring Bamboo Studio up, and this is true for any of these. You'll do it this way. You'll bring, if it's split by color, you'll do it this way. You'll bring it in, and you'll say, yes, it's a multi-part object. And then it won't have any colors set, and I learned recently that you can click on here and hit the number key and switch it, so that's actually kind of nice. You can just, you don't have to go in there a bunch. And then 2. And now it's colored, and that's all you have to do. You'd slice it and print if you wanted one side. Now if you want this upside down, you would reverse it. You can flip it over. The other option here is you could come here and clone it. Make one copy. You could mirror this one in the z-axis, and then merge these models. And then for these here, you could say you want to center it. It'll put it right under that one. And then if you know the height, which I do, you can move that height. It'll be 1.43 millimeters, and then they're stacked, and you've got a double-sided flat forge or flat fill. Flat forge will actually double-side for you in HueForge, but this one's a little bit trickier, so I haven't done it yet, and it's not that hard to do in the slicer. So that's how you do it. Then you'd slice it and go. Now what I have done is I've come to here to transparent, and I changed the rectilinear infill direction to 30 on the transparent, and that does seem to help get rid of a bit of that screen door effect, because now they're going at like a much steeper angle and you don't get boxes like you got before. And then I also increased the flow rate of my transparent a little bit to 104, and I was having stringy, so I dropped the temperature a little bit. So that's what I've done so far. I'm still tweaking and tuning this, but that's how you would set that up in here. Now for FlatForge, you just come here, FlatForge, and it's going to break it into models again. Now the difference here is that it's flat in here without, and if I move this exploded view, you'll see that all the pieces, each individual layer is flat or has the imprint of the layer above on it, so they've all been moved into this flat shape. And then if you want to print face down, which probably most people do want to print face down, you'll need to tell it you want to print face down, and it'll add a transparent layer. Now this transparent layer is just flat, so it's just it's the thickness of this transparent layer is your base layer height. So my base layer is 0.16, so this is 0.16 millimeters tall. One limitation in here right now is that your layer height, your base layer must be a multiple of your layer height. That is one rule right now. So if you wanted to be 0.2 base layer and you wanted your layer height to be 0.08, you need to go to 0.24 or 0.16. You can't do 0.2. That's not supported right now. It will be eventually, but it's a pretty minor issue. And honestly, you probably want a thinner transparent layer rather than a thicker one on top. And again, that's the same thing you're going to do here. You'll come here in FlatForge, you'll set it up. It remembers your settings, but it will regenerate the meshes in case something changed. And then you would just save this, and it'll give you your 5 files here. So you don't need to know a bunch of stuff to do. And then here, as I said, it'll do double-sided for you here. It'll make a double-sided mesh for you here. Now only one side gets a transparent. You could duplicate that layer, but since one side's up and one side's down, you just do one side with a layer, and then this side with the transparent layer. When you save it, it will be facing face down. So flat fill is a little bit different right now, but this one will actually face down. You might notice also that this will actually be down. You'll see Z is up now. It actually changes to show you that we're looking on the bottom. It is all slicer view. None of these show blending. They just show slicer view. All right. Any questions on FlatForge or flat fill? I'm sure there have to be a few questions. I will comment, by the way, that you can now save. When you save project, it's going to pop up this dialog now. Instead of just saving or bringing up a standard file menu, it's going to bring up the same kind of project name. This actually does know what's out there, so if you start typing in blue gemstone, it'll let you complete it. And then it'll tell you that you're saving over it, and it'll show you what files you're going to be writing over and when they were last written. Did you lose the stream? Is there a problem with the stream? Let's see here. Oh, got another office hours image? Okay. That's a good one. All right. No one else having problems? Okay, so it looks like Joe may have lost the stream. Okay. Okay, so here, this would save it normally, but you can go to advanced options now. And when you go to advanced options, you can now remove background. This will take out all this checkerboard, so you won't have that when you bring it into the slicer. And you can split by color, which will also take out the background. And then you would be able to, without making it flat or anything, you'd be able to then save it this way, load it in, and then just color by object. Now, both of those will greatly increase the number of the number of triangles that you import. It'll take a lot more room on disk. It'll take more room in memory, but it doesn't really increase the slicing time significantly or at all from what I can tell. So it's not the default because, you know, the remove background, if you don't need it removed, if you're okay with the background being there and you can just slice it away, it's going to take less triangles to have it in here this way. But if you can't, if you need to fit them, if you need to, like, you know, interchange and get as many as you can on the bed at once, then yeah. So there isn't a transparent layer on both sides when setting double-sided flat forge. I could add it, but you can also just duplicate that layer and move it to the top. For the most part, I don't know how oh, I think I have a bug on my print. I think it's got an error. For the most part, I don't know why you would want a transparent layer on top as well. The transparent layer is really there to make it easy to print. Hold on, let me check this printer real quick. Just a moment. I think I need to adjust something up. Maybe my filament wiper needs to be replaced. I'm getting a lot of spaghetti errors. I'm getting a lot of spaghetti errors in my prints, but I think I resumed it. I cleared it and resumed it. It's just heating up now. I wouldn't have paused for that, but I'm trying to get all this stuff done before 3D Printopia, so I don't have time to not. So yeah, so Flying Sloth, you can add a transparent layer on top, but you don't really need it. If you want it, you can add it, but it's not going to have the... So like this one doesn't have a transparent layer on it. Let me switch. So this one doesn't have a transparent layer on it. And it's flat. Because I printed it face up. And I don't know that you benefit from adding a transparent layer. So again, if you want to add a transparent layer, you can. But I don't really think that it benefits you. Personally. Maybe it would give it a little sheen on top. For my double-sided print here that I made here, this doesn't have, this is just transparent on one side and not the other. Let me go back to here. There. It's transparent on one side but not the other. Can you tell me which one it is? So this was just on a shiny bed, or like a smooth bed. It was not on a pattern bed. You'd be able to tell if there was a pattern, but they both look good. So this is, by the way, the smooth side. Yeah, sure. We've done filament paintings with TPU, definitely. Danny's done a bunch of them recently, actually. That's something that Danny has done repeatedly, especially the U1 does TPU really, really well. I don't know if I was the first one or not to do it. I don't think I was the first one overall, but I think I might have been the first one in like the internal testers group to do it, but sure. TPU, HueForge, I don't have one sitting here. Let me see, I have a box over here that might have it. TPU HueForges they're definitely like crowd pleasers. Oh yeah, I have one. So this, let's go back to, this is a TPU HueForge. So as long as your printer can print TPU, then it works. It doesn't really care what material you want to use. It's really just a matter of what you're able to print. I don't know if I have any more in here. Oh, this one's TPU. This one's kind of thick, so it's a little bit less flexible. And then Danny did several. He's done at least 2 HueForges on his U1, and they came out like really nicely with no tuning, so that was nice. And now you've got 4 colors you can do before you have to, and automatic changing, whereas I always had to do manual changing pretty much for my TPU HueForges. You know, Flying Sloth, you could be right. This is brand new. It takes a while to print. I'm pushing it out as quickly as I can because I know that there's demand for it. And so I don't have all the best practices for this. So you could be right that transparent on top is absolutely something that we want, and it's not that hard to add. It's more just a matter of that. Yeah, manual soft. Danny, you want to throw your channel in here? Actually, I don't think you have TPU on your YouTube channel, though he's in the help menu. Let me go back to. So if you go to help, the Crash Course playlist here, that's Danny, but it's mostly his Instagram and TikTok and Facebook, right? That you have the TPU. But yeah, so he's Neokoi Prince on YouTube, and again up here, and a lot of these beginner videos and stuff are him, because he makes better videos than I do. So, but yeah, TPU HueForge it's one of the things we actually need a couple of those. I hope Danny you're bringing yours, because it's one of those things where you are showing people HueForges and they're super excited, and then you pick one, you say pick that one up, and they pick it up and it crumbles in their hand, and they're like, wait, what? And it's great. Oh yeah, it'll be on your YouTube shorts. Yeah, Adam did a ton. What do you, 50, 60 tiles with manual swaps on like 5 A1s? I think he did a lot. But yeah, it's a lot of work. 4 to 5 colors. So one negative, right, is if you have a 4-color AMS or a 4-color tool changer or a 4-color CFS, or you have a 5-color and you want to, like an MMU, and you want 6 colors, you have 5 colors and a transparent. The nice thing about having transparent be just one layer for FlatForge is you can print that layer, and at layer 2 you can change that tool, swap that spool, pause, and put in the correct color, and then go from there. And so it's really easy to just wait for one layer and then swap it out and get your colors. Now you will not be able to do the AMS trick otherwise. Once you're flat forging, once you're into the layer, the swaps, you can't do that trick. Now you could technically do it in flat fill. It would be tricky. You'd have to like really pay attention to what's going on. But flat fill, the layers of the model act like HueForge layers, and then the transparent always has to stay there. So you wouldn't be able to swap out the transparent. But technically, once you knew you were done with, say, the white, the highlight layers here, once you knew the white was done, here at layer 14, you could theoretically swap in like your blue down here into that white and reuse that slot, because you know you're not going to print anything in between. So you can do it. It is trickier because, again, the transparent has to stay because it's going to be used repeatedly, and then you have to make sure you know what color you're on for the rest. But then you would be able to do it. So, any more questions? So, one thing, it is coming out at the end of the month. It actually is coming out probably Thursday morning. And Adam is right there going, wait, what? I haven't tested. Yeah, I know, Adam. It's going to go out a little fast. It's going to go out a little bit less tested than I originally had wanted. But I really want to live up to my end of the month time frame, and I also really think that people will be okay with, okay, it's a little bit, it might be a tiny bit buggy, but it works most of the time, and we can work around the issues and report them, and then I can make it better. So, and the other nice thing is, anything that can be fixed in FlatForge that doesn't need changes in HueForge, like I don't need new functionality in HueForge, anything that can be fixed in FlatForge, I can just completely release it by itself. I don't have to update HueForge to update the plugin. That's one of the nice things. If I add a new feature, or I fix a bug, or I make the meshes manifold, I don't have to release a new HueForge unless there was some new capability I needed to add to HueForge. No sleep till Bel Air. That's right. That's right. So so Mac OS version's working. It's doing everything that the Windows version was doing. Hold on. I'm going to sneeze. Maybe. Maybe not. It's doing everything the Windows version was doing, or is doing, and so macOS is working. It'll take plugins. That was a big pain to get it to pay attention to plugins, but it'll take plugins. They will be signed and notarized, just like HueForge is, so you won't have sketchy things off the internet to download. I mean, you know what I mean. Your Mac will think that they're not sketchy, at least. So that's cool. And then you've got a whole bunch of other options, of other things going on there in terms of just I did a lot of fixing on like where things go and directories. It was a little bit messy. TD1 has been updated quite a bit. TD1 is set up now to let me think about this. TD1 now is set up. The TD1 code is now set up to support TD1 or TD0 or TD free, though I still haven't gotten the TD free. My TD free won't reflash right now, so I don't have that working in Windows. It spews a bunch of data that I don't expect, and I haven't been able to hear. I messaged the guy who makes it a few times asking for help, and he hasn't gotten back to me, so I pushed that priority down. But it will support all three of them. There's no more. We were having issues with people having this checkbox in here that said, use TD free. That's gone. It'll automatically find whatever, whatever device you have of those three, and if for TD0 and TD1, it will automatically change menus and things like that based on what you support, and it'll now reflash either one of them. It'll give you a UF2 flash recovery for either one of them. In fact, I have mine plugged in. You can come here to help recover TD1, TD0. There, I just kicked it. Takes a moment to pop up. Come on. There it is. Alright, so it says here that its CircuitPython device in bootloader mode has been detected. That's what I just did. I just put it there. If this is a TD1, you wish to reflash, choose an option below. This will erase everything from this device. So I can flash TD1 firmware. I can flash the TD1 as a TD0, or I can cancel. I'm going to cancel because I don't need to do that. But it is okay. You can make a TD1 act like a TD0. You can't make a TD0 act like a TD1, but worst case, you reflash it. So this option is here, so you can always reflash the other way. So it'll flash either way. If this is a TD0, this will say flash TD0 firmware, and this will say flash TD0 as TD1. So that is how that's set up now. And this HueForge will ship with the new version of the TD1 firmware, so it's saying that it's dead right now. Oh, because I put the boot the wrong... confused there. I may have to reflash this just a second. It just popped up a folder, which it should not have done. Okay, now it's coming up. It's 2.1.0 now. So if you look here, version, it's set to 2.0.1. 2.0.1 is the newest version. That will be what it will reflash to if you recover, and it will ship with the the firmware 2.0.1. 2.0.1 fixes crashes based on color, trying to adjust colors. Did that stupid thing spaghettied again? There's something wrong here. Oh no, it failed to pull filament out of the extruder. Yeah, it printed like garbage too. This one, I may have to stop this one and not do it double-sided. It's trying to cut it, and something went wrong on the transparent, it looks like. So, I may just have to pull this one and be done. It's on the black layer, so it's actually done. Let's see if it goes. In any case, any other questions on this before I move on to... something that I talked about last week in office hours. Let me load a file that's more appropriate for this. New feature in base HueForge. Oh, and to be clear, you do not need to have... FlatForge to get the feature to be able to split things into pieces when you save it. That is just part of what comes with it now. Notice here, the background of the picture is white, the background of the model is the checkerboard, and that's because right here I have set this layer to be transparent. There's an option here. I can remove transparency, and then as you see the whole layer that flashes, if I right click make single layer transparent, it'll make it transparent. It is not doing any kind of smart selection. It is not doing any kind of, clever thing. What it's doing here is it's just saying what things are at this layer in this image. And then if you make it transparent, those will be transparent. And you can have any number of layers transparent that you want, and it will save it as a transparent image, and you won't have the rest of the model. If I bring into the plugin, the Mesh Tools plugin, FlatForge, for instance, you'll see that it's cut out. And this one's double-sided, but it's cut out. So that's been already taken care of. So that's something that is a nice to have. In some images, I will say that it's not going to work for black backgrounds most of the time because your shadows and stuff are going to be black and are going to end up being at the same layer. But for bright white backgrounds or bright false color backgrounds, you can often get that to work. And it'll let you cut out those layers. Or if you had a certain region that was a certain color and you decided you wanted to make it another print, you could cut it out that way. All right. So that is also a new feature in here. Unless someone has more questions, and I'm going to start going as if you don't. Unless someone has more questions, I am going to start pulling up office hours images so we can see what people have been requesting help with. All right, so I have this one was requested. This one is, I have one that's evil and a couple that are pretty straightforward. So this one was requested as the one that the person wanted most. Now all the images they sent me were very low resolution. Well, all but one were low resolution. So I upsampled them. The new Topaz Photo, which is now a subscription. I'm not a big fan of that, but it's now a subscription, not a lifetime. Because I was an early adopter, a lifetime adopter, they're giving it to me. But it actually has some really nice. Their new Max upsampler is actually really good. They're trying to push you to the cloud. I have a 5090. It doesn't take that long. So if you have hardware, it's good. But anyway, I upsampled this one quite a bit. And the new Max upscaler is really, really good. All right, I just want to make sure anyone's there. I haven't seen a chat message in a while. I just want to make sure that I haven't gone off the air and I don't know it yet. I figured Danny would have told me by now if that was the case. He would have pinged me because he really enjoys making me sweat and telling me what I did wrong. But tell me you're live. In any case, from there, let's look at this image. All right, so we have some prominent features, like obviously the big orangey red nose. Okay, good. We have the big orangey red nose. We have some blue. We have the black background, and we have the frame. Now, the frame is going to be the frame is going to be a little tricky because it's going to be similar in color to the orange. But the frame we kind of probably want more in the foreground. So let's go ahead, we'll come over to this side, the mesh core. So whenever you're starting, I forget that people don't know this. Let's say when you first load HueForge, you're in combo mode. This is what it would look like this. And then if you were to bring like a red in, and then maybe an orange in, or a yellow in, right, the whole thing is going to be colored like that. If you want the second slider, you go to color match up here, and then you come over to the mesh core. Now, you click on any of these, you can either double click around next to it, or you can click on one of the layers, and that'll switch. You see the blue here is switching from side to side. What that's doing is that is changing which core is being used to predict this image. See, this is grayscale, and this is like fire colors. Grayscale, fire colors. So, when you're doing color match, you need to work on the mesh core first. The mesh core builds the actual mesh for your image, for your model, like for what you're going to put colors onto. So you want to work here, and you want to be looking at this so that you can see exactly what it's going to look like in the ideal world when you're pulling colors from the image and everything. So here, I'm going to start by just grabbing this darkish red here and grabbing this orange here. And then you see we got the nose pretty good. We could grab, it looks like a lighter orange here. There, now the orange is pretty dead on. These are all 1 TD. If you hit T while you're hovering over them and then mouse wheel, you can change their TD to whatever you want. On this side, it doesn't really matter what the TD is, though it is often useful if you're like, I'm going to use this yellow for this print, and you put a yellow in from the image. It makes sense to make it the TD of the yellow you're going to use, but it isn't necessary to be a particular, your TDs don't have to be exact. So then I'm going to grab this brown. The question is, do I put the brown below? See, this is where it's going to get a little tricky, because the brown is going to kind of meet up with the orange a little bit, and this tan for the frame. this like yellowish color here. There we go. Oops. I almost wonder if I even need that. Not really. Alright, so that gives me the frame and the nose. But obviously, we got issues here. So I'm probably going to bring my black up here into the middle. There is a little bit of a second color of black here. You might want it, you might not. I'm going to put it in here. Get a little texture, because it is supposed to be like a painting. So I'm going to get a little bit of that texture there. Maybe even this lighter shade here. Get rid of that. And then we'll kind of bring our blue. We'll go to blue from here. Coming down into blue, to light blue. Then we got a very light blue. It's actually more like a white. We'll give this some TD so that we can blend it. Give this a little TD so we can blend it. Okay, so now we have a lot of it. We're pretty much just looking at this kind of color here and this kind of outfit here. This is like a greenish grayish blue, so we can put that in the stack here somewhere. We could maybe actually flip this over. Hold on. If we highlight these and reverse them, then we could actually put, yeah, we get those grays in here. And that gets us a lot of the way there, to be quite honest. We have this dark brown that we're missing. We got a really low TD brown there. That gets us a lot of the way. This is most of the features of this image are here. It's really just a matter of this cap kind of being the wrong color. It should be this kind of grayish color here. Let me give myself a little more room to play with. 2.5 millimeter. I come down here to to blend depth, and I increase the blend depth. I'll make the image a little bit bigger too, so it's got a little bit more detail. And you'll see here also, I might want to grab this like dark blue here. Problem is that dark blue is a little bit too close to being gray, so I'll just take that out. We have this like light gray here, and then this brownish is going to be kind of the tricky part because it's technically a gray color up that goes up there, but it's part of this stack of grays. And then this white would need to be, I need to bring this white down and give this white more layers. There we go. So the only thing we've got wrong here is that that's coming down to that blue range, so we'll grab that and put it up here. And then we got this brown here. I don't know that we're going to be able to solve that problem because it really is brownish. I can try, but like this is kind of, I got it mostly. Okay, it's not too bad. It's not perfect. I think there's some issues with it that I would prefer to be a little bit different, but that's not too bad actually. I might do this. I might flip this over. It's going to be a little bit harder to get this to look right, I think. Actually, that's not too bad. So that's an option too, is we actually flip this over here. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. I think it's going to be tweaked. You might make it a little thicker, might change things a little bit, but I think that comes out pretty well. So that is how I would probably do this one. I might revisit this one. Oftentimes I say save it and then come back later and look at it again and see what it's going to look like. So once I built the mesh core, so I kind of skip it. Once you build the mesh core, you've got the colors blending nicely, you've got the layers, and then it's just a matter of finding your colors to fit in here. And you're not going to use all these colors. So, but this is the hard part, is this part. this part over here is maybe the fun part, the easy part. I don't know how exactly to say it, but it's not the hard part at this point. From here, we're going to start, we'd start moving our sliders around. We might actually use a yellow instead of an orange. We might bring our white over here again. Bring a gray in here. Or maybe, I think this is actually kind of a perfect chrominal gray color. Penumbra's a slightly brownish gray, so that would actually work pretty well here. And then we're looking for like a blue. You could do blue-gray here. We could do actually more blue. This Creality Hyper Blue would work probably. It's a little bright. In this context, we could actually come down here and put this black below the Creality Hyper Blue to get it to be more of the shade we wanted, if that's what we have. If all we have is Hyper Blue, then we can do that. And then we probably want something like terracotta here. And then we need a darker brown. I have this Epax Dark Chocolate Brown. Probably a good option. There you go. And then we could probably even bring this white up to make it shinier. So there, that's kind of how I would put that together. And then you tweak from there to get the settings you wanted, the contrast you wanted, etc. Good. I'm glad you figured out HueForge, Danny. It's about time. We can make it more golden by bringing the yellow up more. We can make it less golden by bringing it down. But that's probably how I'd go about this. That would be pretty much most of the way. You're kind of giving up this a little bit of this color, but you're getting 99% of what you want. If you wanted to put maybe a yellow here, no, that's too green. You'd have to come up to like here for that to work, so that's not gonna work. All right, so that's this one. Let me go to another one. Let's go to this one, which I just got. This one's actually pretty straightforward. You could color pop this one mostly. So the foreground, if you're not too worried about the background, you could definitely color pop this one. So let's go do that first. So color pop is kind of like it's an early version of color match a little bit, in that it's basically taking the idea of color and no color and using that to create a two-tone splitting things up by layer. Not splitting, sorry, I want tolerance. So tolerance picks basically how we're splitting it up. It's how much we consider something to be grayscale versus black and white. So this is very orange, so I'm going to look for like an orangey color, like this Prussian orange here. And then we've got that kind of orangey color. We can bring this black up to give it a little more shading. I always suggest you do black and white in here so that you get the shading. And then down here, it's just a matter of like how black do we want it, and like what do we want to use to blend a dark black up. Like Chrominal is going to give you that. Now, here's the tricky part, right? So I have a tolerance unreadable right now because of issues. I should fix that. If I bring the tolerance all the way down, you're not going to see it. But as you see, like you start losing strap details and stuff like that pretty quickly. As you bring the tolerance up, you just get like the brightest stuff. This could use a yellow too. And then like the white here actually goes there. So that's not ideal, which is why we're probably going to end up in color match for this. So if we go to color match, it's a similar process, but in this case we might want to blend up the gray again. Let's delete that. And we'll use that same chrominal maybe. That looks like its color's off a little bit. Oh, that's actually blending from here. Okay, got it. And then we'll get the orange in here. We'll engage the orange. And some yellow. And now, we now have our colors separated more completely. Right? We can grab this actual yellow here. And so now it kind of splits itself up, and then we can adjust things. We could make this brown if we wanted. We could say that's actually more of a brown down here. Or down here. That's a brown. And we want that to be brown. So we have some more control over it, but it's pretty easy to split this into two. Again, I'm blending up here specifically so that we meet at this nice black in the middle. Because if I put a black on the bottom, if I reverse this, and put black on the bottom, it actually looks, the black looks great. And I could technically flip this over too, but then you end up sometimes with like, you don't get as much dark underneath this that you want. You don't get as much of the shading as you want here. I could put it in here a little bit. And then your other option, of course, is you can flip this one over, which might actually be easier. Get rid of this white entirely. And come up to this like dark brown. So you could go that way too. I think this leads to more issues, so I went this way. I went black in the middle. Black in the middle is often what I do. That also makes it backlightable, actually, so the very background will be backlightable. Alright, so that's how I do this one. Obviously, the color, we could grab the actual color here, and it'll look a little bit better. But this is going to transfer over pretty easily, pretty straightforward. It's not going to be a big transfer. The transfer is going to be pretty simple. Okay, let's look at the next one I have. I'm going to issue a eye warning. This is a optical illusion that looks like it's pulsing on the screen as you look at it, because the person who sent it to me is evil. And I'm pretty sure they just sent this to me to mess with my brain. But they did send it to me, so here's what I'm going to do that's different on this one. On this one, you see how there's like, it's got the black and the white, and then it has this blue fringing. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong image, that's why. And it has this orange fringing. So I'm just going to set it up so that we're fringing like that. So if I set this white down here below min depth, then it can't match on that white. It's going to match on the top white. It's never going to match down here. So min depth is 0.48. You'll see it's at 0.48 exactly, which means that it's one layer. It's stopping at min depth. So the first layer above min depth is the one that matches. What is nice. And then there's a couple of shades here, so we'll just get some darker brown in here too. Zoom in. Oh my gosh, it's really hurting my head. And then that's how I would do that one, and it kind of stinks because, let's see here. Oh, so there is a little bit of gray here that we're not seeing. So let's, when I'm out here, you see here, it's not, the light gray is matching in with the tan, with the orange, so. Might be better actually to do it this way. Let's reverse these, and we'll put this above the white. And we'll get the dark gray up here too. There we go. That's pretty much it. This one's not actually that hard to do. It's just a matter of getting the colors. It will be a little tricky to get all these to match up right, so. Like some of these, this yellow here. Maybe I could just use that yellow here. But there you go. It's very similar. Not exactly the same. This is a little bit more yellow. This is a little bit more red. But it messes with my brain the same way. So I'd say it's very similar. All right, that's another one. And then I got a couple more from the first submitter. Oh, this one is super low resolution, so I upscaled it. This one is definitely trickier. So this has been upscaled. And this one is a lot harder. So we have our green. We have our white and brown here. This is a brown, not a gray. If I grab this, it's definitely brown. And you'll see that now it's matched here. Right here, it's matched. There's red. We'll put our orangey red color here. He's got purple here. We'll kind of work this up into this purple with a dark purple here. She's got a gray, like a brownish gray. Or he. I think that's a he, actually. I said she, but I think it's actually a he. With hair. And then, see this blue here. Let's go right into blue. We'll go from the purple to this blue. This thing is, where did I put its color? Here, the fur color. So we'll put, yeah, there we go. So now its fur is that color. And then we got all this green in the background. And move all this up here and grab this dark green and this lighter green. This is actually kind of backgroundy stuff, so I'm going to move this here. It's actually pretty good. It's not terrible. Let's see, this green's not matching anywhere. Let's bring that in here to match. And then this gray, we've lost this gray. Where is that? Here? There. That's actually, I think, pretty set on the mesh core. It's going to be a little bit trickier to do this on the color core because there's so many colors involved. This looks like it's, what, Avatar? I'm not big into a lot of animes, but this looks like Avatar to me. The Last Airbender. Well, or Legend of Korra or something. So there you go. That's how I would set that one up probably. I think that's a pretty good setup. We've got his coat and her dress and stuff are in the foreground. This figure's in the background. And then the trees are in the far background. And I think that's a good way to go. Is this actually helping? It is, but it might be in the wrong place. It might need to be down here. There we go. It's a lot shorter. All right, so hopefully that's helpful. And then I do actually have one more, but let me stop for questions. What questions do we have? Oh, well, let's see, there was a deleted message. What do we have? Okay, so I have one more image. This one is I saved for last because it's very hard. It's something I wanted to spend more time doing before the show, but I just didn't get a chance. Now, people want photos. Now, this is someone very kindly sent this photo in. I don't have the rights to this photo, but he said I could use it for show. So obviously I could do this in black and white. And in fact, if I were to do it in black and white, I would go to standard. I would get rid of these two channels. I would come and make sure that this was polysonic, which it's not. So let's go polysonic white. Put that down here. And then I can adjust, you know, my black level by bringing this up, my white level by bringing this up and down. You don't want it all the way to the top. At the top, it's going to be all blown out. So you want to find the area where you're kind of got your good contrast. And generally, that's around where the dots or where the equal signs show up. The equal signs are saturation. So this white is no longer changing here. you do actually see a little bit difference, but oh, because we're in standard mode, so they'll be split up still. But this is going to give you the most detail. There's so much detail in this image, and standard mode is going to give you the most detail. But when you start trying to put in like green, it's just going to turn the whole thing green. It's not going to work. Or if you wanted to, you could make this like sepia toned. You could do like the terracotta in here and give it kind of an old-timey feel. Adjust the whites up a little bit. Like that you could do here. That might be fun. But if you want to try to make the photo look like the photo, we've got to do a little bit of work. So let's make this a little bigger, get a little bit more detail in it, and then let's take it over to color match. Apparently I'm all black over here. Let's just grab a white so that this would work. Okay. So again, here you can see that this actually looks okay, and if you notice all these gray marks, you can, or all these marks, you could shrink this whole thing down like this. It'll look exactly the same. This is what I always say on color match. The mesh core shouldn't have equal signs in it because it's not matching any of the other equals. Anything above the equal sign is not matching. So you see here I matched at the brightest light there, but here I'm not matching anything because I have an equal sign. If I have a bunch of equal signs here, none of these are matching. It's only matching here. You can see it flashing. So all of these can be gotten rid of. They're taking up extra space for no reason. The only argument against that is if you specifically, like you put a black in here and you want a couple layers of saturated black, you could disable the bottom couple layers and force it to match here. But in this case, it's still matching down here. You could disable this layer and then it'll match down here. You can disable this layer. Still won't match there. So it's refusing to match at the layer we want it to, so which is fun. Here we go. Should have some. Nope. Oh, it's matching down here. Okay, so we take that away. Now it's matching up here. Yeah, there we go. So you could do that, but you can't. I can clear these all here. You could do that, but you can't. And like if you wanted like a silhouette or something, disabling a few layers and having it saturated to push it up and make it thicker, that makes sense. But if you're trying to do it in the middle, like you just, oh, I need more blending room. If you need more blending room, like, okay, hey, I have this red and I need, you know, like, so let's say I had a red here. And you're like, or let's say I grab this reddish color here. Right? And I want to be able to get this red to look like this red. Well, these equal signs, this is a 4TD red, these equal signs mean it's saturated. Well, there I can hit T and increase the TD of that filament until it kind of matches up. So that makes sense. But if you do this, if you have it like this, it's blending to here. You're always going to have a really dark red over here. You're never going to have this lighter red. So I just want you to be aware that, like, that's why I say that's a waste of space. If you bring that, adding more layers to let your filament blend doesn't work. You have to add the TD on this side too to let your filament blend. All right, so let's see what we got here. So I think pretty obviously here we're looking at a black background, or a green background, sorry, dark green, green into dark green here, or black into dark green. Except that we might go the other way. We'll go from lighter green into darker green. Probably through this light green here. There we go. It's actually pretty good. There's this dark green here that we didn't get. We'll probably grab that. And then I think there's a little yellow here that we're not getting, or white. So let's bring the white down here as well. Maybe it's yellow. I mean, we're talking little issues here right now. Yeah, okay. Now the only issue, so, okay, there's a pro and a con to putting this yellow down at the bottom. Now I could move the yellow off the bottom and just try to get it to support these plants here. But if you have the yellow up here, you could actually put the light down here, the yellow, orange, reds down here, so that it will be transparent and you could see light through it. But I think we're going to skip that and we'll just bring this yellow down here. Okay, so we got the greens in the background pretty good. All the greens that are in the background greens are pretty much where they're supposed to be, except here. It's coming above. I don't know why. We'll try to grab that. Okay. Then we have like the water here, which kind of comes into a blue. So we'll try to get that in here. It's actually pretty good. We have these reds, but I think... trying to figure out where I want to put the reds. Because this shed is just like off gray. So I think maybe we want to start pulling these colors from the shed here. Maybe we pull this light gray instead. Okay. And then we go to our... Okay, we're going to need this to be taller. Blend... Oh, it's got reset. I reset it to default, so... and then we're going to go to our yellow. But with a red first, I think. Yeah, there we go. And then a white. And this may be somewhere where I'm going to put a black here and disable it. But just to get the shading I need for the red. I think this has to be up here. The issue we have here is that these are kind of opposite directions. And I'm not quite sure how to solve that right now. Is that there's a big gap here because the edge of this roof here is gray, right? But this part is yellowy. It's got the different colors from there. And we've got the reds in here as well now. They're a little clunky, but they're there. I wonder if I don't really want red or if I want like a dark... It has got like a reddish orangey color to it. Maybe we get an orange? A little better. So the problem I have is these layers. If you go to render lit, it's going to look a little bit cleaner. And obviously if we flat forge it, it's going to be a little cleaner. But this all kind of comes down to how do we want to set this up. I'm trying to think if I could reverse these. But I really like having the blue right here. So maybe this blue belongs here. Is that better or is that worse? Kind of similar, honestly. So maybe I need to reverse these, the order of these. So that the side of the building is coherent and the river is coherent. And then I just need a darker blue. Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. I don't like that either. So anyway, this is a very detailed image, and I thought it was worth going over how difficult it can be to get these to line up right. All right. Any other questions before we call it a night? Been a very quiet crew tonight. Guess we're all excited for 3D Printopia, right? Anyone here going to be at 3D Printopia? Is there anyone coming to 3D Printopia? I will be there. Danny will be there. Adam will actually be there. He won't be working the HueForge booth. He's just going to be living his best life, walking around, getting into shenanigans. AJ will be there and Ian will be there. HueForge booth is on the opposite side behind, so they're back to back with the BQ booth and Polymakers at the end, big booth, and then come around, see Creality's scanner, and then HueForge. Any questions for anybody? I honestly don't mind turning in a little early tonight. I've been up a lot. Maybe I can actually get a release candidate full build out tonight for my testers before they get on an airplane tomorrow, or for use on the airplane tomorrow on the way. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. We always have a good time. And we love seeing you. If you're there and you're on the Discord or the Facebook group or Twitter, just go ahead and come up and say who you are on there. All right, so Danny wants to retire to the Discord server and Hangouts for Discord or HueForge After Dark, which is just chilling. You can ask questions, you can just talk, you can show your projects that are not HueForge, non-HueForge, whatever. Have a drink, just chill. So I think that's a great idea. I'm going to call it for the night. You can ask me questions in Hangouts if you want. I'm going to be doing work as well. And come over to the Discord server. If you don't have your Discord link, there's one on your download page, or you can hit me up on store chat and I can get you a Discord link if you have a HueForge order. Totally get it, Critter. There's only so many shows you can do in a year. I have not done Murph. That's been one show too many for me the last couple years. So totally get it. Is Philly closer to you? Then that might be possible. I'm not excited about Philly because I don't like big cities. Not because I think it'll be a better venue. I think it'll have more people. It'll be better for business. But I don't like big cities. So that's a me problem. But we'll be there. See you there if you can make it. All right. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. See you on the other side of the FlatForge release. Later.